Ooh, that looks tasty.
Welcome folks, Day the Hungry Gamer is back with another mini review, and today we are talking about Sanctum from Czech Games Edition. Now, what Sanctum is it is a dice placement adventure style game that is heavily influenced by the video game series Diablo. It is attempting to be a kind of a board game version of Diablo, except it's not going down the dungeon crawler route. It's more of a, as I said, dice placement and kind of a tableau building kind of adventure style game in which you are playing against the other players around the table or solo, trying to be the one to be the most effective in killing the big demon at the end. And what's going to be happening throughout the game is you're going to be moving through a series of different maps. And on those maps, as you move through, demons are going to be spawned out onto the board. And demons are either level 1, level 2, or level 3. And what that means is they take 1, 2, or 3 dice to actually kill. And as you play through the game, your dice pool is going to be growing, and you'll be rolling those dice and trying to match up the right numbers with what you need to kill the demon. And of course, you're going to be able to use your stamina and your focus, which is for those of you who played Diablo ever, the big old red bubble and the big old blue bubble on the side of your screen. You're going to be able to use those to mitigate the dice, add or subtract numbers from them to make those values that you need. However, obviously that's not going to work all the time. You're going to be taking damage, so you'll be using your focus and your stamina to activate your armor or a dodge maybe you have somehow to mitigate the damage that is coming into you. Now, when you beat these monsters, this is where the fun starts, because you're going to have a choice. You're either going to get your fat loot, which means you flip the card over and you put it in your inventory. Eventually you'll be able to equip it. Or do I want to use it to level up? If you're choosing to level up, you're going to wind up using your own little board on the right, and you'll see right now all those different gems that are out there. Depending on the monster that you beat, you're going to be able to move 1, 2, or 3 of the different colored gems up the board until eventually it gets to the top of that board. As you move things off of the different cards or tiles there, you unlock the ability. Now, of course, that does come with a danger, because the more of those you've unlocked, the more potential cards there will be, at least in the solo game, that the end boss is going to have. Then once you've gotten through to the very end of the 3 tiles, you're going to face off against the demon. And then if you're playing competitive, everybody's going to come with you, and you have to fight this big boss. And the big boss has a bunch of cards that's going to have out, and just like with the little enemy cards, you're going to be rolling your dice and trying to cover up all the dice placement spots on those cards, except there's a lot of them, and every time it hits you, it's going to hit you for a ton of damage until you've weakened it enough. Then, in addition to that, no, we're not done, it's going to shout at you. It's called a roar, but no, it's just shouting at you, and it shouts really loud. And then you're going to be flipping over more cards, and you're going to mitigate how many of those you have throughout the game by kind of how well you do and how quickly you go. And then that's pretty much it. That's really all you're doing. You're going through kind of rinsing and repeating, and you're flipping over the cards, you're seeing if you can beat the monsters, taking your damage, getting to the end, and trying to beat the boss. And if you do beat the boss in a competitive game, it's going to come down to kind of who did the most damage and who has the most health and things like that, and someone will be kind of crowned the winner. So what do I like about this game? First of all, I found that this game is deceptively quick, especially in the solo game. Obviously, you can always wind up kind of having analysis paralysis and all that kind of built in, but really there's just not that many choices. There's never that many choices that you have to make that you are stuck staring at anything, because you're at the beginning of the game, you're only rolling 2 dice. By the end of the game, you're rolling 5 dice. So it's just not, there's just not a lot going on as far as time wasters, things that you can agonize over. And gosh, I like that so much. I like that more and more the more games I play. I want it to move, because unless it's a game that I am in love with, I mean, top 3, 4, 5 games ever, I don't want to spend more than 2 hours playing. I probably don't even want to spend 2 hours playing it. So that's not true. I'll spend 2 hours, but you see what I'm saying. And so, but this game, it moves, it cooks, it just keeps on going. And I really do like that. I also like that it is thematically on the money, yet at the same time, it's nothing like Diablo. Nothing like Diablo, because it's not a dungeon crawl, right? You're not going from room to room and fighting hordes of monsters. It's abstracted out, and you're not doing this kind of roll to hit. It's this dice placement thing. But somehow, because of the way you are kind of building up these abilities and the way that you're spending your focus and you're spending your stamina and the way that you are getting this loot. And just like in Diablo, all the loot kind of feels the same, except it gets better and better. And there's clearly things that are better for certain classes if you kind of really dig down into it. So it does feel kind of Diablo-like. Even though, if you asked me to make a game about Diablo, I would never come up with this style of game. Ever, 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 ever. But it does have some of that vibe, and I do really appreciate that. I also appreciate just the core dice placement and the dice manipulation that goes along with building your tableau. As you're getting all these different items that you're equipping, it's a fun little engine that you're building up and a fun little puzzle as you're trying to say, gosh, if I spend my focus here now, that's going to let me do this with this die, and that'll let me put this one over here, and then I can hit this other one with this other die. But if I let myself get hit by this one, that's going to let me recharge my rage. So that means next time I'll be able to just kill something right away. And so really that's what I need. And it's a fun little puzzle, but again, it's contained with not too many choices, and I really like that as well. I'm also going to say that I really think the solo is fun. Now, full disclosure, the solo takes no more components, but you do have to download the solo rules. That was released after, but it's available for free. I think it's a 3-page PDF on Czech Games Edition's website. But it's fun. It's fun, it's quick, and it's challenging. It is a challenging puzzle out there. The other day, I played through 3 games, 3 different characters, and it probably took me 90 minutes total time, maybe 2 hours to play through 3 games, and that's great. That is great speed. Now, I didn't win any of them, but still, that's not the point. It's not the point. The point is I was able to play it, and I felt like I could win. It was a challenge all the way up to the end. So, what are my quibbles with the game? Well, my first quibble is I'm just not a huge fan of games that are, well, co-opetition. And at its core, unless you're playing solo, that is what this game is. You are all trying to kill this big boss, but one of you is going to win. And why does one of you win? I don't know. I have no idea why one of you has to win. It just seems like this should just be a pure co-op. Like, go beat it, I don't know, make the boss harder or something. And that's always kind of a bummer to me, because there's always that moment when there's going to be a person who, you know what, could do something to where we're going to be able to win, but they know that they can't win. So maybe they just don't use their dice wisely, and then everyone gets hit really hard and everyone loses. And yes, I know it is set up to where if you get to the boss and you all die, there can still be a winner, but no one feels like a winner when you wind up dying. You're just, no, it's not, it doesn't work. And so for me, that's a bit of a bummer, but I don't really like co-opetition style games. Now, at the same time, it's quick, so it's not like I'm playing a game where I'm dug in for 2 hours, or I'm playing this and at the end someone's gonna backstab me at the last minute. I'm going to be angry and upset and a funk for the rest of the night, like can happen in some of these semi-co-op style games. There it is. It's not my favorite mechanic, co-opetition. And then the next quibble that I have is, even though it's clearly a Diablo style game, as I said at the beginning, it doesn't play like you would expect a Diablo style game to play if you've played the video game. Not at all. It does, again, it does hit that theme oddly in a weird way. I do feel a bit like that Diablo theme and styles coming through, but it doesn't play like you would expect. So if you're looking to really take that digital experience and the click, 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 and put it out there and it's kind of frantic and frenetic, you're not getting that here. You're not getting that. But really, that's it, folks. I think Sanctum is a fun game. I enjoyed it, and I enjoyed it more than I expected to as a solo game. It had some of that same kind of dice placement, a little bit of the dice manipulation that I enjoyed so much in Under Falling Skies. I am not saying it's like Under Falling Skies at all, but that kind of dice placement, puzzly goodness, it has that just to a different degree, perhaps a lesser degree into it. And I enjoyed that. I've enjoyed playing it, and I will probably play it more. I don't know that I'm really interested in playing it beyond solo, and I don't know that in the long haul that it's going to have a ton of replayability. It is possible that as you play through, you're kind of going to figure out, well, here's kind of the order I have to do stuff. You're going to get 1 or 2 abilities and then get a bunch of items and come back and get abilities again. That's going to give you the best chance to win. Obviously, it's not solvable because it's dice, and you could just have a whole bunch of bad rolls. Like in the last game I played, it got down to the end, and I needed to get 2s. I just needed to get 2 2s, and I could move on. And I had some mitigation. I could reduce things down by 3. I could reduce 2 dice down by 3. And 3 turns in a row, I rolled my dice, all 6s. It just happens. Now, how often that can happen? Not very, but, and I'm not saying that as a complaint. That's just kind of saying that it does feel like there's a lot of things that there is going to be a best path. And then it's kind of within that, are you able to adjust to the dice? And so I don't know that it's got the huge replayability that you might want. But on the other hand, it's not a very expensive game. It is a fun solo experience, and you're certainly going to get 8, 10 games out of it. 12 games out of it before you're like, oh, okay, I feel like I've done all this. And that's a pretty good amount for games in this hobby. So there you have it, folks. That is Sanctum. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.